Good evening, queens and kings. Welcome to Two Queens and Crystal Things, a podcast where we are on some manifest your life, shift your mind,
tell them about it,
and raise the consciousness type of shit. I am Christy.
And I am Mia, and you can consider us your spiritual girlfriends. Hey, y'all.
Man, there is so much to catch up on, you all.
It's been, okay, so first, wait, what is today?
Today is the 19th. So last week we didn't have an episode because it was my birthday.
I was about to say, so guys,
it's my birthday. It's my birthday.
Recently passed her solar return.
Yes.
Back. 48 looking great.
48, you all. And I feel like I'm ignorant in 18.
Well, you look fine in 25.
Thank you. Okay.
So before we get into today's episode, I want to talk about our last episode, which was a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. We talked about, surrendering to the unknown, and really, it's really a conversation of faith and trust in yourself. So when you're surrendering to the unknown, what you're really surrendering to is the trusting in who you are, the story that you've created for yourself, and trust that everything would be okay, and surrendering to that as opposed to control every moment. So it's a pretty good it's a pretty good episode. We get some good feedback on that.
Mm-hmm. So, ooh, y'all. It just feels like Earth these days is going through a shit show.
It's so ghetto.
Just in general. But if you all are living and breathing at all, you have seen, whether it's on the TV, on the radio, on social media, on anything about Jada Pinkett and Will Smith.
So, okay.
Y'all.
So let me say this. Because we're going to use this storyline, this example of what's happening, to talk about some bigger themes and how things show up in our life. So let me just say this. As a whole, as collectively, energetic wise, I think that we are in a time where Chris and I were talking about this before we started recording. We're living in a time where when I say when them tables turn,
woo!
When they say everything in the dirt comes to light. When, I think about the, for my tarot readers out there, I feel like, if I did a tarot read for the collective, the Wheel of Fortune would come up. It would, people are receiving their karma. People are receiving the harvest of the seeds that they have planted, and it's coming in a much faster rate than it used to.
Yeah. So the energy shifting.
The energy is shifting because we're in a place where we have to choose. Who are you? What are you going to be? Are you going to 5D consciousness? Are you staying here? So we're being pushed to make a decision. This is what I feel like is really happening. Mm-hmm. Like just from a collective. So what I feel like is happening is a spiritual and emotional purge.
Yeah.
You're going to pick today. You're like, we can no longer hide from this. And so that's collectively, but that really means we're making a decision to be, to live consciously as what, like we, and we have to be, we're in a position where we can't lie to ourselves and make ourselves think we're doing something that we're not doing. Like we are being pushed with our truth in front of us.
Yeah.
So this is a difficult time. And then that's the energy of everything.
Everything. Yeah.
Now, with that being said, some of these purging moments, this truth coming to light, these opportunities for us to see ourselves and explore ourselves in the depthful ways are pretty damn entertaining.
Yep.
Cue up Jada Pinkett's book tour. These interviews and the revelations
Worthy
from her book Worthy. Yeah. So I'm gonna keep it funky with you guys. my initial thought is, why is she doing this?
Yep.
What does she get out of this? What does she gain from this? What is she spreading? What is she? It makes me curious, and it's not really a judgment. I'm actually curious. What does she gain from what it is that she's telling at this time and the details that she's providing? And then there's the other piece of me that understands that this is a book tour.
Right. And so the interesting thing for me
is... like it's a book. Her goal is to sell more books. So that keeps me like a little bit like...
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think it's a coincidence that this came out, like a whole book came out. This is just 1 year. It hasn't even been a full year since the famous Chris Rock slap. So, now you get to leverage that. So I think I have to remember that these are celebrities, and we are in an attention economy. So part of me is like, by us even discussing it the way, the memes that are going around, we're giving her exactly what she wants.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, baby,
So for me, when she was talking about this stuff, I'm asking, why do we need to know?
Yes.
Like, why do we need to know? Mm-hmm. Because what happens behind your door, what happens behind my door, that's my business. Mm-hmm. Even if you're out in the limelight, there are things that there are precautions you can take. I mean, think about Jay-Z and Beyonce. You don't hear a lot about their personal life. There are some celebrity couples where you don't hear anything about their life. Well, why do we need to know?
Okay,
and this is actually tied into today's episode.
So that's why I think about what if we, instead of judging it, because we can really get into it, because y'all, it's hilarious. I mean, I look at it and I'm like, but my first thought is, what is going on? Like this, it just doesn't seem normal. But the question is, what do we learn from this? What are we actually watching? And part of me has a difficult time believing that this is not just...
Well, there's a purpose behind it. Right, absolutely. It is marketing.
You know what I mean? Like, so I think, so here's the thing. I think a large part of it is marketing. So when I ask the question, why all of this at this time, especially when you're bringing up like Tupac stuff, like, you still talking about this man? But when I think about it, and let's talk about this worthy shit, because this is what I'm coming to. This book that Jada has put out, a lot of it, from what I'm understanding, I have not read it, so please, forgive me for this. But what is being promoted as the major takeaways? So if you go Google major takeaways from later, or major revelations from Jada's book, almost everything is connected to her relationship with one or two of these men. Mm. And maybe the fact that she explored like women when she first came to Hollywood or something like that. But that's it. So your conversation, you've written a book about becoming who you are and feeling worthy. And when the snippets come out about the book, it is all tied to your relationship with another man. Do you know how fucking pissed off I would be if I'm writing you know what I mean? Like, when I'm talking about finding my worthiness. So to me, what that tells me, though, because she's leveraging those talking points, and it does get the attention, it gets people talking about it, but she's leveraging it. I wonder how much of her worthiness is attached to the relationships that she has with men. For fuck's sake, we talking about Tupac. Like, everybody loves Tupac. You know what I mean? Like, he's an iconic character. And you're talking about Will Smith. It's Christy called him. He's a black Tom Cruise. So these are some very powerful men who, because of their iconic stature, could eclipse maybe what she thinks is, what she might think is she's being eclipsed. So now she has a platform. She's being heard. Mm-hmm. And she is giving it all to us. Giving it all to us. But to me, this is really just another lesson in showing how maybe unworthy she feels. Because this is like a big validation.
Right.
Validate me. I am a victim. look what I've done. I gave up my life, my career, and blah, blah, blah. And I was with this person and he said this and blah, blah, blah. And at this time when you're talking about your worthiness and it seems to be so much focused on, like, I don't understand. And again, I have not read the book. I'm actually a little curious just because the conversation is, it's like, this is interesting. I don't admonish the woman for what it is that she, I don't understand it, and I probably wouldn't do it that way, but it is not my life. So that doesn't, who the fuck cares?
And I think for me, it's just like, why should we even care?
But here's the thing, we do.
I know.
You look at
and
the
that's
numbers
the
on
fascinating thing.
Because we do.
Well, and I even told you.
We do.
I even told you. I said it's like this train wreck that I just cannot stop looking at. And I know that it is. Okay, so let's talk about the whole, I think as it relates to worthiness. So how would you define worthiness? I think for me, this has been an area that I've been working on a whole bunch. I continue to work on it because there was a time in my previous relationship where I felt like I wasn't worthy of having deserving things or things that I wanted. I didn't feel like I deserved it. I felt like I was less than, and I felt like I should be happy enough to receive anything that I got. And I honestly, I believe that was kind of drilled into me.
Right. So it's like, you think that's a learned behavior,
right.
Or is that something
that was a learned behavior from the marriage that I was in? That was a learned behavior, and it wasn't until more recently where I started to say, well, Christy, why do you feel like you can't have nice things, or why do you feel like you're not deserving of this? And I finally got to a point where I'm able to receive. It's very uncomfortable at times, but I will say to myself, I deserve this.
So, okay. We always talk about when we came here, we came with specific things that we wanted to learn, relearn, understand, and experience. Mm-hmm. And so if we take it from that perspective, all it is, and Christy knows I'm not trying to discount her experience, but I'm talking like, let's talk about a different way to look at this. That relationship pulled out the conversation that you wanted to have with yourself about your worthiness or your lack of feeling worthy. Mm-hmm. So it made you start to explore, like, what the fuck is this? Yeah. Why do I feel like this? Or why don't I feel this way? So in a way, it's not that he was the cause of you feeling unworthy. He was the light that showed you your unworthiness. Because when you felt worthy, you probably wouldn't have dealt with that type of person. He wouldn't.
That was deep. That he was the light.
He's just showing the light.
Yes. No, you are absolutely right.
We come in with our bullshit, and that's how
you are absolutely right.
I know there's some queens that want to throw some stuff at me, y'all. I am so sorry, but this is the truth.
Because in my eyes, he was not the light. But now, no, looking at it from the perspective that you shared, I see exactly where you're coming from. Because he was the mirror. He was the magnifying glass that allowed me to see a portion of myself that I was not willing to see.
And again, when we set it up like, you're going to learn this lesson, this is something you're going to see.
It doesn't matter if it's good, bad.
It's coming.
It's a lesson.
It's there. So the lesson is coming because you pre-wrote it. You designed it as such. Remember, it's all we don't design the how. How long is it going to take you to get that lesson? That's up to you. Yeah. Because as soon as you get it, guess what? That one's gone.
Next.
That lesson is,
Brent.
Sorry, excuse me, I was thirsty. So yes. But how would I... Okay. This is why I think that it's so much. Okay. The worthiness conversation is such is an interesting one, because I think when people, especially in the spiritual community, when we talk to people, a lot of what we're talking about is helping people to feel worthy. Mm-hmm. And how do you decide whether that you're worthy, and and fighting and battling feelings of unworthiness. Yep. When you think about And while I feel like one of the number one affirmations is I am worthy. Mm-hmm. Okay. But with a little bit of time and wisdom and growth, and I started to wonder, even the idea of feeling worthy to me is putting value on something outside of you, because who decides whether or not you're worthy? Because the definition of worthiness is the quality of having value or merit. Mm. So if you think of yourself as perfection, nothing can define your merit, your value, or your worthiness, because you just are. So, and worthiness also means like it can mean a state of being qualified or eligible. According to whom? And eligible for what? When your job is to be fully, authentically, 100,000% the design that you came to be. Mm. So that's the lessons, that's the up, that's the down, that's the growth, because you are fulfilling a space and time that you wanted to be. All as the divine manifests himself as you. So it makes me start thinking, how do we change that conversation to I am worthy so other people will see me worthy? To how do you know within yourself your own, you define what is worthy.
Yep.
And you see yourself, it's instead of, oh, this is what is considered worthy, like outside of yourself, and they're like, oh, now I match this, I'm worthy. It is, this is who I am, and because of this is what I am, that makes me worthy, not the other way around.
But it does,
I will say, from the inside out.
Right, but it does, I will say this, especially for those listening, it does take time to get to that point.
Oh, for certain.
Like it takes some time and it takes some work, because I think we all have that time in our lives where we're like, oh, well, once I made it here, that means that I'm worthy. But we can still, just think of it. You see these people in the prime of their life having access to all of this like amazing lifestyle, and they commit suicide. Mm-hmm. It's just like having it all doesn't, from the standards that society sets before us, doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to make us feel worthy. So it takes time.
And I don't think that everyone's lesson will be a lesson of worthiness, and there may touch
everyone has a different
how
lesson.
You value yourself, and may get into a worthy conversation. But there's so many shades in there. There's so many mm-hmm. degrees and variants, and there's like, it's literally so many ways to have that conversation, or to discover some worthiness about yourself. So when I think about Jada Pinkett, mm-hmm. and
I got a question too. Okay,
the worthy conversation. I wonder, is she? I'm curious about what the message is she sending. Is she sending the message that I now know who I am and know that I am worthy outside of this relationship? Is that why she's saying?
It's very confusing.
You know what I mean? Is that why she decided to tell people that they have technically been separated for 7 years? Is she trying to tell this story that, look, it's not about him, this is about me? And to be honest with you, we haven't been together for 7 years. Like, we're just this or blah, blah, blah. Like, what is the purpose of that? And then to later come back and say, we're working on so is this a story of growth in a marriage? Like, I'm actually curious about what her intentions are outside of the economics of it. And I'm not mad about, at her for selling this story and, telling her story and getting paid to do so. I don't see an issue with that. I'm confused about what her intention is. And, for me, intention is everything. What were you about to say?
Shoot, it just fell out of my head. I had a question about her. You were saying, what is she getting out of it?
And is,
gosh, darn it.
And then you got to just think, and only because I just understand a little bit of how these stories can come together. And, that now they have the stories like, oh, the children are upset that, with the revelations from the book. And if y'all believe for one Mickey Ficky second that this family does not know when when the book was coming out, has not already read it, seen it, approved it, shown it. Like, let me explain something to you all.
Absolutely.
Sometimes we gotta remember that these people they're brands.
They're actors.
This is a brand. Thank you, G. Like, this is a brand. So now, the more that there is some people, unfortunately, this society, and I shouldn't say unfortunately because it is what it is. Mm-hmm. What grabs our attention is chaos. It's terror. Like, that grabs our attention for longer. We like seeing the highs, but the lows and the, oh my goodness, the shock and the horror, it catches our attention and it keeps it for a longer time. So if she keeps coming out with more horrible things, like, oh, now the children are upset, they wish they would have kept some family secrets. They knew.
I remember what I was going to ask.
Go ahead.
Sorry. So, and I'm just curious about this. So a person who has difficulty acknowledging their worth, do you think that is the type of person that would undermine and emasculate another person, or I should say another man, in order to have a sense of, being over them in a sense? Like power. To try to get,
Yeah. I mean, I think that there are a lot of ways that people who feel unworthy feel like they put themselves in a position where they feel better than someone else.
Oh, yep.
But, okay, here's my question. Y'all gonna hate me. Who said it was emasculated? Did he say he feels emasculated? Like, remember, we all got a part in this. We all got a part in this. Has he come out and said, I can't believe this bitch emasculated me, putting our business out there? If you don't think that man has seen every word of that book, like I said, they understand that they are a brand. And I think, I wonder if their intention is to show that, we're like everybody else. There's redemption at the end of the rainbow. They've been separated, but they still functioned as a family. You know what I mean? And show, like, if the relationships don't have... What a successful relationship is defined by you and the person in that relationship. And maybe is that what we're to learn from this? But if we're honest with ourselves, why are we watching this? Because we like the chaos. Mm-hmm. There's something about it that, like, woo! Did you hear the latest? And what happens is we spread that energy.
Yeah.
And even though this woman came back and said, okay, I see that this was taken a certain way, and tells you everything about collectively how we see things. Mm-hmm. We can all watch something. You could have 10 people in here who all watch the same clip and get something different from it. Everybody can say something different.
Yep.
So whatever it is that she said cued everybody to think that Jada emasculates him. She putting his business out. Dang, she just broke up with the dude on TV, and she comes back and feels the need to clarify. No, I was trying to tell y'all, like, that's not what I said. I said XYZ. We're working on our relationship. We decided that we want to be with each other forever. We're trying, we're working our way back to each other, blah, 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 blah. And even though we've been hanging on to her everywhere, when she says that, guess what? We don't believe it. Because we want to believe the bullshit. What does that say about us?
Yeah. That is true.
But I am curious, like, part of me, just because I've seen a couple of the Red Table Talks, I do think that she has created a space for the potential for some very powerful conversations.
Absolutely.
I can really appreciate that.
And the type of conversations that a lot of people aren't ready to have.
Yes. She's been able to create a space and a platform for a lot of women to, and I'm saying women specifically, but for people, really, for healing, for a space to have a conversation where people can come and heal and share, and people feel like, oh my goodness, it's not just me. So that's amazing. So I wonder if this is just an extension of having that conversation.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Or is it just her publicist saying, like, look, dude, your husband smacked Chris Rock. y'all need to make some money off of this. Like,
yeah.
he's banned from the Oculus for 10 years. The least y'all can do is make some money. I mean,
I was kind of thinking that maybe because she created this platform for people to be human and to be very transparent, that she feels like she has to be over the top too. But then you also said something earlier. You're like, she's finally gotten to this position where it's no longer about him. It's about her.
Yeah.
And all of these things are just being regurgitated or just,
I've been sitting on this for so long. I've been there. I have such a story to tell. Just for real, Christy, seriously, think about this. If they have been separated for 7 years, and when, they go out in public as family, at special events and all this, and they share so much of their lives, and you haven't been able to share that, I don't want to live. That sounds to me like I'm not living authentically. Yeah. So now she feels safe enough, for whatever reason, it's time. She's opening up the water fountain, and everybody's catching up to what's been happening in her life. But then at the same breath, you say, people aren't entitled to the special moments and facts and stuff in my life. You're right. But you can't give me information and tell me how I'm supposed to respond to it. Right? No, you can't say,
or give me access to this area of your life and then not give me access to this other area.
I think you can. My point is, you can't tell me information and tell me how I'm supposed to respond to it. Bitch, you've released it. Now how I feel about it and what I'm going to do about it is my damn business. You can't even do that. You release that control over what I do with that information. So now people are like, well, shit, I want to know more. And she said, people aren't entitled to that. And they feel like, yes, I am. I wouldn't know this if it weren't for you. Right. So,
but I also feel like people in that spotlight, that kind of comes with the territory. You're going to know that people are going to have this entitlement or have this feeling that they deserve access to your life. You kind of sign up for that the moment that you put yourself out there.
And so that's why I wonder what her intention is, because she can respond back to it and say, I don't care. Well, if you don't care, then you wouldn't have put this out. So what truly is your intention? And I do think there is, and honestly, if you really think about it, the idea of being vulnerable and exposing, kind of the things that you've been through in your life is considered a challenge for, I would say late millennials, Gen Xers, and ups. These alphas, these younger millennials and alphas and Gen Z, the Gen Zers, they feel like they don't have the idea that they can't be vulnerable. They don't feel like there's no, and I'm speaking in general terms, but there is no space where their vulnerability is not allowed. So it's a different type of conversation. So for us, like a different generation,
like our generation, I feel like we weren't allowed to be vulnerable.
No, that was
you did that behind closed doors.
Exactly. So now we're in a space where people, whatever
you are honored for it. It's like, you're my hero.
Yes. So now she feels like, oh my goodness, it's finally a space where I can be celebrated for being a victim. I can be celebrated for showing my hardship and how I got here. And oh my goodness, people can finally feel sorry for me. We weren't allowed to talk about this. And I mean, I've healed from it. I'm totally fine now. But
no, that's a different perspective.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. You don't think that's a little narcissist?
I'm like, hey, I'm just
a little.
I'm just showing you how I looked at, how I was like, that's just something that it is what it is. But again, within ourselves, how do we define what makes us worthy? And I think the big picture that I get from this is you have to, yes. It is not, there is some definition, some qualifications, the standard for what makes someone worthy. It is,
or once I make it to this
point,
I am
worthy.
Exactly.
Whatever it is that you are, I am worthy. And what are we talking about? I am worthy. I am eligible. I have spiritual credit to believe in myself. I am worthy of the love and to know and believe that the universe is always conspiring on my behalf. I am worthy to be in a space and condition where I can create my own life. I am worthy of manifesting my heart's desires and dreams. I am worthy of exerting my will on my life. I am worthy of a sovereign spirit. All of these things are about yourself. It is not I am worthy of his love. I am worthy of this job. No, this is like, you are, so you are worthy.
Yep.
Period. And that's the message for the day too. But seriously,
you are worthy because you are.
So you know what I mean? Like so this conversation that Jada's been having in the book tour, that is, I feel like one of the conversations that as a collective we can have. Like, what are we really hearing? What do we listen? What are we learning? And that's what I heard from it.
Yeah.
What would you say is kind of, as you've been going, watching this go along? Been in the forefront.
For me, it has just reminded me and reiterated that you really have to be mindful of the person that you're partnering with. Because some people, even despite like how deep into the dark you go, my goodness, sometimes like how deep in the dark you go, some people aren't able to handle it. And this has just really reminded me, despite the craziness and all the stuff and he said and she said and the fact that it's out in the public, they're still willing to hang in there together with each other. And I think that speaks, regardless of all of this stuff, that speaks volume.
Christy, and that's the part. No matter what y'all think,
no matter what,
that man still got up and said, "This is the best friend I've ever had."
Right.
Like, so our interpretation of it
and
speaks
it doesn't
more
matter
to who we are,
right?
Not what's really going on in their life.
Doesn't matter.
It does not matter. That's an excellent point. So, all right. I was about to say, I did kind of our message for the day, and it's really just a reminder, you guys, of you define your worthiness. Yes. You are worthy because you are you, at whatever stage and place that is. And sometimes, especially in our world where you can create the image of anything.
Mm-hmm. And that's the part about social media I think a lot of people are attracted to. They can be portrayed as anything they want.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
And we'll be back on schedule now. We love you guys. Go check out our website at www.twoqueensandcrystalthings.com. Mm-hmm. We keep up to date with. We have a couple of things launching and going on. We're very excited. Make sure you follow our IG page at 2 Queens Crystal Things.
Yep.
And
you can also follow our personal IG pages. Mia is Wings Unleashed 444, and I am Christy R. Edwards. And before we do a final closeout, I just want to say thank you, everybody, for the birthday wishes. I really appreciate it. I have had the best birthday ever.
Oh,
so thank you, everybody.
Good, you look good.
You look good. All right. Light, peace, love.